Good morning, children, and welcome to another Saturday school. Are you excited to be here?
I know this one, where God told David to be his king, and he stopped the giant. But
So just listen. There's things to be learned from this story. Okay. So the title of our Saturday school
from shepherd boy to a
today
hero.
is From Shepherd Boy to a Hero, and we're going to be reading a text from 1 Samuel. We're not going to read all the text.
What?
We're going to read few bits and pieces from chapter 17 because it's a long chapter, very long. Now, the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Shochoh in Judah. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let's fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Now, Jesse said to his son David, "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers, and hurry to their camp." Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that you should defy the armies of the living God?" David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you defy." As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his head, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. So, we've read the story. I'm sure all of you know the story about David and Goliath. Okay?
Yeah, we know.
And we're going to listen and watch a video that tells us more about this story. Okay, and if you're watching online, you'll see the link to this video down below. Okay, so from the text that we've read and the video that we just watched, so we're gonna go through who God is in this context of the story, and we see that God is a deliverer. How was God the deliverer in this story? Can anybody tell me? And what does deliverer mean? Deliverer. What does it mean? Okay, so deliverer essentially is you're in trouble and somebody comes to help you. Okay, so
what do you mean in trouble? Like
in this case, Israel was at war with the Philistines, right? And when they saw this giant of a man called Goliath, all of them were scared, including the king and all the armies of Israel. They ran away. They were so scared and afraid. So all of them were afraid, and they ran away because they didn't know who they're going to select to fight this giant.
They didn't know if it was David.
Okay, David had a sling and a stone.
Sling on the stone, and his foot was forward on the ground.
Okay, good. So we see two different stories in what you just talked about. The Israelites were scared, right, of the giant of the Philistine. Okay, so they need somebody to deliver them. Okay, David, when he was looking after his father's flocks, the sheep, right, sometimes a lion will come or a bear will come to snatch one of the sheep away, and that sheep needed a deliverer, right? So who was the deliverer for the sheep, right? David. Okay, now again there's a war between the Philistine and the Israelites, and the Israelites were scared. Who was the deliverer?
David.
Okay, you said David, but it wasn't really David. It was God. Okay, because it was God that made David, bold enough to stand up against, right? Goliath. So there is God in there, and even in the story of David killing the lion and the bear, okay, it was still God that gave David the courage and the boldness, right, to go after lion. Can you imagine? A boy. David was a boy. He was a shepherd boy. He went after lion. He went after bear to take away.
When the lion and the bear came to take one of the sheep, David would get the sheep back and put them back where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, David went after the bear and the lion and killed them, right, and got back the sheep. That was exactly what David did. And David was a shepherd boy. Remember that. He was a boy, right? A young man, not an adult, right?
But God made him mighty.
God gave him courage. He had courage to do all of those things. Okay? So we'll see in this story, we're going to continue, that God is our deliverer. Then God is our king, right? So we cannot afford to trust in human kings, right? What happened to Saul when he saw the giant? Did Saul go forward to fight Goliath? No, he ran away. He was terrified. He was scared. God is our king, and is the only king that will save us from any trouble. Is the only king that will not. Okay, God is the only king that will never be scared of anybody that try.
He's not scared of anything.
He's not scared of anything. Okay, and that's why we have to trust in God. Okay, and God is bigger than our problems. Right? Now the Israelites right, saw this giant as a big problem that they have to fix. God is bigger than our problems and our fears. Okay, the Israelites were so scared, and they see this problem of the Goliath as a big problem that they cannot solve. Right? They didn't know how to solve this problem, but they forgot about the God of Israel that they claim to serve. Right? They forgot completely that God is bigger. They forgot about what God did for them in Egypt. Right? They forgot that God separated the Red Sea for them to walk through dry land. They forgot about all the mighty things that God had done in the past for them. Right?
That's why they were scared. They forgot everything.
They forgot everything, okay? And they saw this man, this giant, as a problem that nobody can solve, right? Even God, until David arrived, okay? God is always bigger than our problems. There's no problems that we face, right, that God cannot solve. You have to understand that. There is no problems at all. Nothing, no problems that we face in our lifetime that God cannot solve. That's very, very important. And God sees us differently from how we see ourselves. So what can you see in that image? What's different in that image?
David is bigger.
David is bigger than Goliath. That was how God saw David. Right? God didn't see David as a small child that wants to fight this giant. God sees David as this courageous boy, right, that is going to fight and kill, right, this weak giant, right? And David saw himself as that as well. Because what did David say when he saw the giant Goliath cursing and shouting at the Israelite? David said, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Who is this guy that will be talking to the, God's people like that?" David understood, right, the position that they have because God is behind them, because they serve the true God. David understood that was, a powerful position to hold. Okay? And David saw the giant as small as a lion, or as small as anything he had seen or he had killed in the past.
But I thought he was young.
He was young. I'm just using this as an analogy. Okay? You have to, when you have God's support, when you have God backing you, you're bigger than your problems. Right? That's the analogy in that picture. When you have God supporting you, when you know God is behind you, and there's a problem in front of you, you are bigger than that problem because God is with you. Okay? That's what that picture is showing. That we are bigger, and God sees us as bigger than our problems. And we have to see ourselves as bigger than our problems. Yeah? Quiz time. Question 1. Why did Goliath challenge the Israelites to send out a champion for single combat?
What does
1.
combat mean?
Combat means a fight. A, to decide the outcome of the war. B, to entertain the troops. C, to boast about his strength. Question number 2. How did David respond when he heard Goliath's challenge against God's people? A, he ran away in fear. B, he volunteered to fight Goliath. C, he ignored Goliath. Question 3. What did David use to deliver the fatal blow to Goliath? A sword. B, a shield. C, Goliath's own sword. Question number 4. What happened to the Philistines after Goliath's defeat? A, they celebrated their victory. B, they surrendered and fled in fear. C, they prayed to their God. Question number 5. Why did David choose not to wear Saul's heavy armor for the battle? A, he thought it was too ugly. B, he wanted to prove his strength without armor. C, he was more comfortable with a sling and stones. So the answer So you guys can have a treat now. Okay, so why did God create you? So we see here
Special relationship.
special relationship, but we're discussing why did God create you, right?
For a special purpose.
In the context of the story we read today. Okay, God created you for a special purpose, and in the case of David, right? David was asked. David wasn't part of the army. Remember that at the beginning, right? He was only asked by his father to go and give some food to his brothers who were fighting the war. But God had a special plan for David, right? So David going to give bread and some cheese to his brothers was not just a coincidence. It was God's special plan for David. That David will get there at that time of the day, that Goliath will come out and shout at the Israelites that, give me one of your men. If I kill him, you will surrender and you become our slave. And if one of your men kills me, we're going to surrender and we're going to become your slave. So Goliath was doing this repeatedly. It will come out and it will shout at the Israelites. And Saul and his army will be like, ah. They'll be so scared and hide under their beds and their tent. The Israelites. They were so scared of the giant. But David got there at the right time. And David heard the Goliath shouting at God's people.
He didn't even know what who his name was.
He doesn't have to know his name. He just knew. He knew that God is bigger than this Goliath. And David said, who is this guy?
He's mighty.
He is.
He's mighty.
So David knew that God has given him a gift, right? And how did he know that? He knew God had given him a gift, and he has a special purpose because he wasn't scared of lions. He wasn't scared of bear, right? He wasn't scared of anything. That was a special gift that David had. And in this case, looking at Goliath, he thought, I can take you, just like I took the lion and I took the bear. I can fight you. I'm not scared of you. Okay, so we have, been created with a special purpose, every one of us. For you, it doesn't mean you have to fight a Goliath. For you, it might mean, you have to create something that will help, people feel better, that will create, a drug that will, heal a disease, or create something that will make people's life, better. Okay, that's the purpose. As long as you're solving a problem, right, for somebody, okay, that is a purpose. Something that can help humanity, something that can help other people. Then God created you to make use of what you already have. What was the thing that David, had that he was able to use?
Rock and a sling.
A sling.
A sling. A sling to sling it out. Rock and a sling.
So
he picked 5 rocks.
Because why did David use a sling and rocks? Why do you think he used a sling and a rock?
Because
Remember, the one of the things that was in the passage was Saul tried to put his armor. You know what armor is?
No.
What people wear to go and fight in battle.
That's
Right.
what Goliath feels.
Yeah,
But-
exactly. Goliath had a javelin, he had a sword, he had a spear, right? And he had, it would have been wearing something to cover his chest and stuff like that, right?
I know now.
The children of Israelite had the same as well. Saul had the same. David's brothers, had the same. So Saul wanted to put his own armor on David, for David to go and fight, but it was too heavy for him because David was a young boy. Okay, David said, "No, I can't wear this." Okay, and David used what he already had, right? And that was the sling and the stones you're talking about.
I know.
Go on.
So, I think he didn't wear the armor because it wasn't uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable, you mean?
I mean, it was uncomfortable for him to get in.
Okay, and what he used at the end of the day, the sling and the stone, was comfortable, right? Because he had used it in the past, right? It was a specialist in using. So David knew that what he had, right, was comfortable. Just hold on. Was very familiar for him. He had used it in the past. A lot of times, he was a specialist in using a sling, right? He wasn't a specialist in using swords and spears and javelin, right? David never practiced with that. David practiced, right, with sling and stones. And he trusted that if he used what he knew very well, right, to use, that God will use that thing that he already had. God will use it, to his advantage.
He used the same thing that he used before, and he would be able to, fight Goliath with the stones and what he just had already.
Yeah, so essentially everything that we need, right, to face any challenge that we have in life, God has already given to us. We already have it, okay? We already have everything that we need to face any challenge. Anything we need, if we have any difficulty, right? Say for instance, you have a test in school, or you have to do an assignment and stuff like that. Everything that you need to do that assignment is there, right? Because one, God has given you a brain to think. God has given you a brain to do research and understand, right? So all you have to do is just do the work, right? Do the work, right? What did God give David? Courage to face any trouble, okay? And David,
that was a challenge.
And David, knowing that he had a sling and a stone, he had practiced so many times. It's just like people that play sports, right? Before they go and play, right? They practice and practice and practice.
So David was practicing slinging the shot so that when any animals come, he can sling the shot to make them die, so that no one can eat his dad's food.
Absolutely, that's fantastic, Olimaki. Another trick for you. Another trick for you. That is fantastic, Makma. You just hit the nail on the head. That's exactly the point, right?
Yeah.
That everything, and I mean everything that we need in this life, God has given it to us. But we have to practice the skills God has given us. We have to practice. This is where practice comes in. This is where having to, learning how to do things, right? If you want to be the best mathematician, right, in the world, what do you have to do?
So you have to practice things.
You have to practice maths. You have to, keep practicing maths over and over again, solving problems until you get better, until you become the best. You want to become the best doctor in this world. What do you have to do? You have to keep, learning about, medicine. You have to keep learning about how to, heal people, how to solve problems, how to cure diseases.
Like how other doctors learn how to be doctors.
Yeah, and you have to put more effort into it as well, right? You want to be the best, you have to put, the most effort into it, right? You want to be the best engineer, okay? You have to, learn your physics. You have to learn your maths, right? And solve problems. Everything that you need, right? Because the one thing that God gave you when you came out from your mother's womb is what? God has given you brains. And the brain that you have has a massive capacity. The brain that we have, that God has given us.
That's what helps you know how to learn.
Yeah. Everything that we need, God has given, us. Everything that we need. Just remember that. God has given us everything. All we have to do is use it. Okay? So when we're in trouble, it's not the time to be praying that, God, help me. I need a javelin. I need a sword. I need a gun. David didn't say that. Okay? David said, David said, oh, no, I don't need a sword. I don't need a spear. I don't need a javelin. Don't worry. I've got what I need. So, another point is God created you to protect and fight for the weak. And we see David doing this in this text. Absolutely. Okay? Because when David came to the scene, the Israelites, all the army of the Israelites, right, were scared. Right? They were scared and afraid. And David came and rescued them. Right? But he believed in God, that God, remember what David said? David said that I'm coming to you, Goliath,
to save them.
In the name of the Lord. That was what David said. He said, I'm not coming to you with swords and arrows and bows or javelin, that I'm coming to you in the name of the Lord. Okay? So David understood that he had God behind him, right? And he used that to protect, right? And fight for the weak. And the weak were the children of the Israelite army, in this case. The weak was King Saul. The weak were David's brothers, because they couldn't go and fight Goliath, right?
Were them?
There were lots of them.
So David had lots of brothers?
Well, David had about 7 brothers, right? But I'm talking about the whole army of the Israelites, okay? Thousands of them. All of them were weak, right? In this case. And David, right, protected them, right? And he fought for them, right, to win that battle. And we have to do the same as well, okay? When we see weak people in a situation where they cannot get themselves out of, right? We see weak people in a situation where they feel helpless, so right?
We have to help them.
We have to help them, right? We have to help them. But whilst we're trying to help them, we need to remember, right, and pray to God for God to give us wisdom on how to help.
And we have to remember what we have
that can help them.
That we already have to help them, like a tall person that is very strong.
Absolutely, that's a good point, Olumaki. Whilst we're thinking of helping them, we have to think, what do we have already in us that we can use to help them? Okay, that's very important. So, what is your purpose?
To face challenges head on.
Okay, how do you face challenges head on? As in, you run towards challenges. I'll give you a story. I think maybe it's you, Olumaki or Olumito, that when you guys were little, right, and when you used to, try to scare one of you, right, you don't run away, you run straight. You run straight into your daddy. When I try to scare you, you don't run, turn back and run away. You just run straight, head on. So that's you facing your challenges head on. Like when you see your challenges like this in front of you, be like, no, I'm not going to turn back and run away. I'm going to face you head on. Yeah, they will just run, right? So that's facing your challenges.
Like what David did.
Absolutely. David saw Goliath. He didn't run. He went straight. to Goliath. He went to Goliath to face his challenge, right? Yeah. Saul and the army of Israel, they ran, right? They didn't want to face the challenges. They ran. Okay? So that's your purpose. Face your challenges. Don't let your challenges scare you to the point where, right, you become numb and you can't do anything. You're scared. You're feeling depressed. You're feeling sad. You feel helpless.
And you feel weak.
You feel weak because the first thing you have to remember is God.
And you have to remember, like in the story, what God did for all of them. Like when He saved them from the Egyptians.
Good. Okay. So for the Israelites, that's one thing they could have remembered and said that God delivered us. What do you have to remember, right? When you're in trouble, what do you have to remember to know that God is with you?
To remember what God did to what God did to the Israelites, so you're strong and you can fight.
That's a good point. You can, because you read the Bible, right? You can use the stories of the Bible, right? Even though you were not there, you can still use that as, showing how powerful God is, right? But you can use other stories that, are, closer to home. There will be a lot of things in your lifetime that will happen and God will save you from, will deliver you from. You have to remember those things, right? So that when you face another challenge in the future, you remember that, but God saved me from this. So, God delivered me from this.
So I can fight who is better than me.
Yeah, so it's a way of remembering, right, God's faithfulness.
And showing that you're strong.
Well, the story that God is always with you. Okay? That's important. That you have to write your own story, right? About God delivering you, God, helping you out and saving you in a difficult situation, things like that. So that's important. You have your own story as well. That will help you to face, other challenges in the future, because we're going to have challenges. That's a fact. We're going to always have challenges. Okay? And God wants you to believe anything is possible.
What does possible mean?
Possible means you can do anything. Okay? David saw the possibility of defeating Goliath as something that is absolutely possible. He did not think for once that if I go and fight this giant, he might kill me. No. David saw Goliath and thought to himself, because you have defied God, the God that I serve, the living God, I know for sure that I will defeat you. Okay? David saw that situation as absolutely, right, possible. And the fact that he knew it was possible for him to defeat Goliath was because he wasn't thinking about his own strength. He wasn't thinking that, he was very skilled at, using sling and stones to kill lions or bear, or he can actually use his bare hand to kill lions and bear. He wasn't thinking about his own strength or his own power or ability. No, David, he wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about God. Right? God doing, the creator of the whole universe, right, behind him. That was what David was thinking about. He said, if God is behind me, then Goliath is nothing. And we have to, have that consciousness as well, that when we're facing a problem or a challenge, we have to remember that we are children of God. And God being our Father means that we can do all things. And I mean all things. Do you understand that?
Yeah, everything.
It's possible. Everything and anything is possible. And God wants us, to do the impossible as well. Because what David did was almost impossible. It was the first time, probably in history, of fighting wars that a boy will take a sling and a stone to defeat a giant that had a sword, a spear, and a javelin, and full body of, armor.
Yeah.
That was the first time in history that a boy will win a war for his country. So the next thing is, don't underestimate your capabilities. Okay? God has given you capabilities. God has given you things that you need. Okay? Don't underestimate it. David did not underestimate the fact that he's very good. Underestimate is you thinking that, if God gave you an ability, you're thinking, it's not enough, right? You need, exactly, that you're thinking, you need more to be able to solve this problem. No, you don't need more, okay? What God has given you, remember the point I made before? Yeah. What you already have, it's enough.
It's what you need and that's enough.
Yeah, it's enough. So the capabilities that you have, don't underestimate it, okay? Do not. You have that, it's enough.
And what does capability mean?
Capability means is what you can do. Yeah? What you can do. Okay, second quiz, question number 6. What was David's job before facing Goliath? A soldier. B, a shepherd. C, a farmer. Question number 7. What did David say about Goliath when he offered to fight him? A, he is too strong for me. B, I am not afraid of him. C, the Lord will deliver you into my hand. Question number 8. What was Goliath's reaction when he saw that David was just a young boy? A, he laughed and mocked him. B, he got scared and ran away. C, he cursed David and charged at him. Question number 9. Where did David aim the stone when he slung it at Goliath? A, his chest. B, his head. C, his legs. Question number 10. What's the main lesson from the story of David and Goliath? A, the importance of faith, courage, and trusting in God's strength. B, the significance of physical strength in battle. C, the benefits of using heavy armor in combat. Alright, so
I got everything right.
Get something? So we're going to talk about finances in the context of this story. Okay, so here we see David was responsible. He was a responsible shepherd boy. And what do shepherds do? Shepherds, what do?
They take care of sheep.
And when they take care of sheep, are they just taking care of sheep because they just want to play with sheep? Because they just love them?
No.
Or they want to cuddle them? They just want to kiss the sheep? And they just want to, they just like smelling like sheep and smelling stinky and stuff. Why do they take care of sheep? Why do you have shepherds taking care of sheep or flock of sheep, right? And they take them from one place to another, to go and eat and graze. They call it grazing, to go and eat grass. So they move them from one place to the other, to another place. They take them all over the place so that they can eat, keep them alive. Why are they doing that?
So that they can stay alive.
So that they can sell them. Okay? Most people in those days, right, are either they're farmers, right, or they take care of animals, sheep, cow, and animals that they can sell to other people. Okay? The bigger your flock is, the richer you are, right? Because when you have a lot of sheep, it means that you can sell it to people that wants to eat nice, meat.
Yeah.
Right? You kill them, you sell it, or you sell it as a whole.
Like we eat nice meat.
Farmer. And to produce, other things, because you can actually take the wool, right, the skin of the sheep,
to make it into coats.
The hair, right? You can take off the hair of the, skin the sheep, take the, they call it, sharing. Okay, you can share, like cutting your hair, right?
Like,
you can cut the hair of the sheep, then you can use that to create, into clothes.
Clothes that we're wearing right now.
Yes. So that's the value of, having, and if you have loads of, sheep, you can imagine by the time you cut all the hair, right, it means that you can give it to people that can make, clothes from it.
And then we'll have so many clothes so that we can buy stuff. So
it's a business. That's the point I'm trying to, to get at. David's family are in the business of taking care of sheep because that's what they use, right, to feed themselves.
But there's
right?
No shops there.
Well, it doesn't matter. People do trade different ways, right? They don't have to have a shop. People can just go to them and say, can I buy one of your sheep? And they will take money or silver or gold and they will, sell.
So they'll give the person the money so that they can buy some of what they have.
Yeah.
Like one of them animals.
Okay. So David's family are in the business of rearing sheep, taking care of sheep for the shepherds, right? So that they can have money to take care of themselves. Okay. And what else can you get from from sheep and cow? Probably sometimes you can get milk.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Okay. So David, as a young boy, right, he understood right how to do business.
I was about to say he understood how to make a business.
He understood how to do business, and that's the reason why. Remember when David said that when lion and bear, right, try to snatch one of the sheep away from the flock, what does he do?
He kills them with his sling.
He goes after the lion and the bear and kills them because
his sling and rock.
Well, it doesn't even matter how he kills them. He goes after them because you understand that if he allows lion and bear to come and take one of the sheep, one after the other,
then he'll have no more sheep and
they will
have
no, absolutely no more sheep means no more business, right? That's their family will go and start starving. They will they'll have nothing to eat because they'll have nothing to sell,
and they'll be not rich, go and have money to buy stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. So that's you see David, knowing the value. So we see David here understanding the importance of the family business, and from early age, right, he knows the business and he knows that you have to protect the business at all costs. Okay? And again, we see that David was a good steward of his father's flock. Okay? Mm-hmm. Good stewards, I think we've kind of talked about that, right? Stewards means that you're in charge. You're put in charge of something and you're very good at doing that job. Okay? Wow. David was put in charge. His father, put him in charge of his, the sheep, the flocks, right? And he was very good at it, right? It was very good. And if you remember in the text as well, remember when David's father asked him to go and take food to his brothers, right? What did David do? He made sure that he left the flock of sheep with somebody else to take care of, those sheep before he returns.
Because if nobody was there, but all of his sheep would be gone, and then he would have no business anymore.
Yes, if he just leaves the sheep alone,
he you'll have just it'll get bit smaller and smaller until there's no more.
Yeah. So some a few things could happen if he leaves the sheep alone, right? Wherever they are, right? It's either when it comes back, lion and bear they've come to eat them up, or the sheep would have wandered anywhere, right, and get lost, and they will never find them. Okay, but David understood that, so he left the sheep in the care of another shepherd until it arrived. That is being a good steward. That's being responsible. Okay. Then responsible. Good. Mark just answered. Did you hear what Mark said? Taking care of what you have. Okay. Or what you have been asked, to be in charge of.
So, Daddy.
Yeah. If I tell you, Olumito, you're in charge of laying your bed, right? You're in charge of making sure your bedroom is tidy. And you doing all those things without me telling you, what does that make you? It makes you responsible. Because I've told you what you're in charge of. Laying your bed, tidying up your room, don't make a mess, right, with your Legos. And Legos, flying all over the place. And you're doing it without anybody telling you to do it, makes you responsible. Okay? Again, the other things that we see here, David's the skills that he had acquired, right, protected the sheep from lion and bear, so from predators, essentially. So David was not only a good steward, he was not only responsible, but he developed skills, right, that would protect the family business. So anything that, is a threat to the family business, to the sheep, David developed skills to protect that, right, from happening. Okay? So again, David was very hard-working. He was a very hard-working boy. And what did we see in the text? When David's father asked him to go and give his brothers food, right? What did we read in the scripture? We read that David woke up very early in the morning, right? And set out, right? He woke up very early. So David was not only looking after the sheep or being a very good, steward, very good shepherd boy, but he was very hardworking as well, right? When he was asked to do something, he does it very well. He does it extremely well, with everything that he had. He does that job very well. So we're gonna watch, right, an African hero that is a freedom fighter called Nelson Mandela. Have you heard of him before? Okay.
I don't even know him.
You don't know him? Okay. If you're watching, you see the link to the video below in the description. I'll give you a quick recap. So this man called Nelson Mandela is an African man from South Africa, in Africa. And based on what we've studied earlier in today's class, that we have to, our purpose, right, is to help fight for the weak. Okay? So in South Africa, in those days, right, the white people were ruling the Africans, right? And they created laws that were not in favor of the blacks, but in favor of the white. Okay? And Nelson Mandela didn't like it. A lot of people, right, were weak. A lot of people didn't have the power to fight against the government, the white government. But Nelson Mandela had the courage to fight. Okay? And he fought. Sorry?
He was the only person who could do it.
He and of course, he had other people supporting him, but he was like the leader, right? So he used everything he had to fight. So he had the ability, the courage and the strength to fight. And of course, a lot of people helped him, right? Supported him and, helped him along the way. But he didn't care whether they're going to kill him. He didn't care whether they're going to throw him in jail, right? And of course, they captured him. They threw him in jail. He was in jail for a very long time, right?
He was still alive.
He's not alive anymore now. He's dead. But he was in jail. Listen, he was in jail for a very long time. Then, because everybody in the world, right, said they have to release him, right? Then eventually they released him from jail, right? Then he became a politician. He ran for office and he became the president of South Africa. No, he didn't die in jail.
Oh.
No, he didn't die in jail. I just said that he came out of jail because people all over the world said they have to release him, and they released him. He ran for office, he became the president of South Africa, right? Then he united the people of South Africa together, right? Because he wanted peace in his country, okay? So he worked very hard, to make peace with everybody, okay? So now, having told about the story of Mandela in a nutshell, we're going to listen quickly to some of the quotes, right? So we're going to listen to some of these quotes now. You can find the links in the description to the video. Okay, so that's some of the quotes that Nelson Mandela said while he was alive. So in conclusion, we see in the story and the discussion that we've had that without God, we can do nothing. Okay? David, being a young shepherd boy, knew that he believed so much in God and what God had done for the Israelites that he saw the challenge of fighting Goliath as something very possible, right? Because he knew God was going to back him up. Okay? And we must always remember that God is bigger than our problems. Remember the picture that I showed where David was bigger than Goliath?
Yes, sir.
Okay? We have to see ourselves bigger than our problems, because God sees us exactly like that, right? God does not see our problem bigger than us. Absolutely. We're always bigger than our problems because God is bigger than our problems. And if God is on our side, we can do anything. You better get God on your side. Faith and belief in God are the most important virtues we need to fulfill our purpose. Okay? We have to believe in God. We have to trust God. We have to have unshakable faith in God. Right? Rock solid faith in God. That God...
What does rock solid?
Rock solid means a faith that cannot be moved. Right? That nothing can convince us otherwise, right? That God is not able to help us, right? You find yourself in a problem, God can help us with anything, okay? And you have to believe that. If you don't believe it, you're saying, oh, God can help me with everything, God can help me with everything, but you don't believe it in your heart that God can help you, then that's useless, okay? This is where you have to believe. David believed with his whole heart that God can deliver Goliath into his hands.
But the Goliath didn't believe God.
Goliath didn't believe God. Remember, Goliath cursed. Yeah, Goliath cursed the children of Israel. He blasphemed against their God, right? But David, because of that, David wasn't scared because it was like the fact that you can curse my God means that God is going to defeat you. God is going to give you into my hands. deliver you into my hands because of that. Okay? And that was a rock solid faith and belief that David had in God. And we have to have the same as well. And we must face life challenges with the confidence that God is always with us. Okay? That's very, very important. So that's the end of today's Saturday school.